Hello and welcome to Smart Gamer Live Town Hall. Today I'm joined with Malice from Plague and Poison Taco from Part Time Heroes.
How's it going?
Taco, you're not the resident terrorist today. It's a little odd.
Well, we've only done one act of terrorism, so we're just,
It wears off eventually,
yeah.
Well, I think you're going to need to do something more soon.
Definitely.
I can't reveal anything. That's all classified information.
So he may or may not have things in the works. Are you still in a media blackout?
Yes.
Okay, that means he's planning something. That's all we need to know right there.
Always the best. Got to keep that plan going.
So we've kind of beaten the CU horse to death, so we thought we'd jump on to the SC horse and kind of give that a good whipping. And who else better to answer questions about Star Citizen than our very own Poison Taco, the man that plays more Star Citizen than most people do. How you doing?
Well, I don't know about all that, man. I see those people flying those luxury ships around like all day and all night, like they got nothing else to do in their lives.
They do have nothing else to do. That's why we shot them.
I wish I had that much just spare cash and spare time simultaneously. It's like, geesh. I want to be able to buy a really expensive ship in a game that isn't live yet, and spend all day flying around in it and be like, we're gonna stream this.
Okay, but you spend all day flying around in it. What is it you're actually doing? Like these yacht clubs when they get out there. What do they do?
Just like having a little party, a little live stream, kind of like looking at the sites and that kind of thing.
They're doing what rich people do. Waste time.
I don't get it either, but it felt good to shoot them.
I mean, in general, if I'm going to join Star Citizen and I'm going to buy this big expensive ship and I'm going to spend hundreds of dollars to get this badass ship, what am I doing with it? Besides flying?
How about any other ship besides that ship? Because that ship in particular is designed to waste time on.
Yep, it is a glorified paperweight.
Well, the real question is, so besides, because there's going to be bunches of missions.
Well, the idea is you're going to get missions to basically transport rich people. Elite Dangerous has something like that. You have passenger transport. You go to a station, you pick up NPCs, and you take them on a tour. Let's go see the fancy sights there are to see in space. So, that's going to be something similar.
Would you classify Star Citizen as an RPing game?
If people want to, there's plenty of opportunities to do so.
Haku in chat says Star Citizen is an RPing game. I thought we all knew this.
You could LARP. It's not my cup of tea. I tend to drop bombs on people that LARP, but that's just me.
There you go, Malice. In your LARPing, you can get yourself a captain's outfit complete with fancy hat. Do a stream and LARP that you're the captain of this big badass ship. And then we can all have lots of fun watching you trying to fend off Poison Taco as he comes to destroy you, essentially.
I will probably do that, but I'll also be in an Idris and not a luxury cruise ship.
Yeah.
I'll be in a war fleet with several Idrises and javelins and cracks and other horrible, bad mojos out there.
So where are we at with the Star Citizen development? Where is the game currently?
So we got a major piece of tech and the last patch that makes the servers not chug when everybody's on them. So that's a plus.
How many are we up to per server now?
Still 50, but they were testing 80 recently. So they had a test server up and they were testing 80 people on the server. They said those were promising results, so maybe we'll see the player count slowly go up over the next few months. I imagine maybe 3.9 they might start testing higher player counts per server. And I can only see that number going up. the game is actually in a pretty good place, and they're getting rid of wipes. Like right now they're testing a patch in the PTU where they're getting everybody to go out, buy stuff, and do whatever, and then they're doing a server wipe, and then of course everybody still gets to keep all their stuff that they've bought in the game. So that's going to be much nicer. And with more stable servers, you can actually do cargo running without risking half of all your money in your cargo hold. Because as it was prior to the last patch, you're kind of rolling the dice if you had anything worthwhile in your ship.
Which is going to mean more when they get rid of the wipe idea. Because right now you lose it all.
So one of the things I've been doing is I've been finding profitable cargo routes. And I've been kind of finding a path for some of our players that only have like a base package, like a $45 package. It's like, here is a profitable trade route you can do that is quick, easy, and you can earn a lot of money. And then you can use that to get rent a better ship that has more cargo space that you can start making more money over time. And that on top of mining, and it's actually going to be possible for people to earn ships or rent ships and actually try other things. And one of the things I'm going to be experimenting with my group is how quickly can we get, say, our military section equipped with fighters, equipped with bombers. So that way we have tools at our disposal. Like, for example, the Gladiator bomber, or the fighter bomber in the game, not very many people actually have that ship. It's a nice ship, but I mean, with a bomber and hardly any capital ships, you don't really have much to attack it with. So it gets a lot less attention right now. But if you're actually able to earn it in the game, we can go like, hey, everybody gets 2 million credits. Let's go and get everybody bombers. That way, if we need a bomber wing, we can make it happen. So we can kind of get into stuff that extends beyond everyone's personal fleets. We can kind of get everybody on the same page, and we can also get everybody equipped with armor, weapons, and components that are necessary.
Question for you. So when it's called a bomber, is it more of a torpedo ship used to like go after frigates and capital ships, or is it supposed to be like bomber as in can drop bombs on planet side? Hey, Bobo.
Right now it's a torpedo bomber, but I wouldn't be surprised if they start adding like dumb bombs to them. I mean, a bomb bay is a bomb bay. I mean, really, you're changing the ordnance there.
Unless it's Bombay Sapphire. Good gin.
Like, I mean, the what was it? The Hercules Starlifter, the A2 variant of that has less cargo space. It has less cargo space because it's meant to hold 4 MOABs. So, or they say like you can swap it out for carpet bombs. So, I mean, they do have plans for dumb bombs. But something like a Gladiator or a Retaliator, I don't see why they couldn't make the bomb base capable of having dumb bombs.
So, Tago, let me ask you, right now people want to get into StarCraft. It's an Alpha 3.8, but the 2 starting ships that you're able to buy, what would you suggest for people? If I've called up the website here, it looks like you've got the Reliant Core and
the two main starter packs at the $45. I would say the one you want to get is the Mustang. The reason why I recommend the Mustang is because as of right now, the cargo compartment of the Mustang does not work correctly. Like, you can't pick up a box and put it in that little cargo lift that comes down. You can still load it with commodities, but you can't do the delivery missions with it. And because you can't do the delivery missions with the Mustang, they also give you an Aurora. So if you get the Mustang, you get a loaner Aurora. So you get both. And
at least temporarily, that's fixed.
Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of get both to play around with, at least. And the Mustang, I believe, like, if you're ever going to do upgrades, like, for example, The only extra thing I recommend people spend on is to get up to an Avenger, because the Avenger is a capable fighter that can also carry cargo.
So
I think it's like another.
the Mustang can't really fight. Is that what I'm understanding?
Both starter ships are not meant to fight in serious dogfights. They're your training wheels. Like, they are not designed for people to stick to. Like,
They're an all-around vehicle, which means they're good at nothing. Basically, they can haul little cargo. They can defend themselves against other light ships, things like that. But they're not there to slug it out with actual warcraft. Like,
But I guess if I'm going to get into the game, at least it's a ship that I can climb into and fly around.
And it's like getting into a Subaru and thinking you're going to go up to an M1 Abrams and do anything.
like my Super Hornet.
But I have there is the Aurora LN, which is, I think, only $5 or $10 more than the basic Aurora, and that thing in the right hands can tear military fighters a new one.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen a number of videos with people in an Aurora LN that will just tear people to shreds. But usually truth be told, there's a lot of people in Super Hornets that are bad pilots. They get, they're like, oh, I'll just spend all this money. And a lot of Super Hornets you run into can, let's just say they're not the sharpest bunch.
It's like a kamikaze ship.
Not necessarily. It's just that people think, oh, I'll get what's expensive. Oh, I'll get what has the most guns and I'll win. But they don't really learn how to fly or fight properly.
So does that mean that there's like a meta ship right now?
I feel called out from this.
Do you swipe and get the big ship there, Malice?
I mean, as far as fighter class, I mean, it was 185 or whatever like that to get into a Super Hornet at the time, and with lifetime on it. Like, I mean, it was kind of a no-brainer to me. I wanted an actual real fighter, and it seemed like a good idea. But I also knew everyone else was investing in huge-ass ships, so there was kind of no point in me having anything bigger, because I can now just dock with everybody in my clan's ships. And it's small enough to dock with most ships, unless it's like what's the one that carries around a Merlin or whatever like that. But like anything that actually has a hangar bay, like I can dock with it. So it's like the top of the, well, it used to be the top of the bottom class ship.
I would consider the Super Hornet to be a capable medium fighter. It's basically on the same class as the Saber, which I don't think we have a huge variety of medium fighters. I guess you can throw in the Sentok Yai, but that's not even made yet.
So, Bobo, Sihaku, are you guys looking forward to Star Citizen? Is this a game that you're going to try to get into, or is this just kind of another, oh, that's a cool game, probably not for me? What are you guys thinking? And then, Taco, you were telling me earlier that you guys have been actually playing more PlanetSide 2 recently?
Yes, we've gotten into PlanetSide 2. There is a new update coming. It was going to be on the 19th, but they've delayed it to the 26th. So they call guilds outfits, and this update is going to have a lot of stuff for outfits. Cool. It seems like PlanetSide has a lot more development team, or a lot more team members put onto it. Probably because it's like the last thing Daybreak has left. So, a few weeks ago they announced that they kind of split off their company. So they have like 3 new development teams, and they're under the umbrella of Daybreak. So,
As I say, I thought Daybreak left Chicago and like because they were bought out by somebody, but then
Yeah,
they...
so Daybreak is basically going to act like a publisher now. And PlanetSide has their own named studio. I think it's like Rogue Planet Games or something like that. Then DCUO got put under their own little umbrella company, and then or development studio, and then there's a third one I think that's going to carry on EverQuest, basically maintain the current EverQuest games and maybe make another one. We don't know, but either way, the PlanetSide team has a lot more development resources being put into it right now. And so this new update, the big thing that they're adding is flying aircraft carriers on top of significant updates to outfits. So if you do stuff with your outfit, you are going to earn loyalty with your outfit. And as you go up in loyalty, you'll also earn a currency called merits. You will be able to use...
You need to tell your construction crew to shut the fuck up.
They are going to be... And merits will let you buy cosmetic items. So they're actually adding a way for you to be able to earn cosmetics in the game. And that's by working with your guild.
Interesting.
And they're adding...
We're working with who?
So it's not just a swipe.
Guild. Yeah.
Other people?
Yeah.
I call bullshit. No game supports working with other people.
I know this is a foreign
individualism.
concept to you, Malice. The idea of actually working with someone.
No. The last 15 years of game development has been the steady slide of ripping all value of working with other people to turn every game into a solo experience.
And
I agree.
Call it an MMO.
To support this, outfits are going to get a host of new abilities, which they can earn resources for. So basically, when your outfit captures a specific base, you're going to start generating resources. So you might want to pick one, take it, gather your resources while you can. There's going to be a host of new abilities. One is being able to call in an orbital strike, which they're already in the game, but this, I guess, is another way to do an orbital strike. Then there's one that you can call down like this dome shield. So basically this thing comes from the sky and it like covers like a huge area under like a dome shield to kind of protect your guys from aerial bombardments. There's going to be a box you can call down. So this box that gets like rocketed in and just like a one-time use, like spawn a vehicle. So that can be used like in clutch situations or whatever. There's another one they're calling like Iron or Steel Rain, where you can take your entire platoon, all 48 people, and do a massive like drop pod on a location. So you can take all 48 people in your platoon and be like, we're going to ODST that shit. And then the biggest one is every outfit gets their own bastion, which are going to be big floating aircraft carriers. There can only be one per faction per continent. So there's already one fielded. You can't spawn it until the other one dies.
You're saying
however,
they're Highlander ships.
Yes.
There can only be one.
It's moved on the battlefield by pointing and clicking on the map, so you have no direct control over it. The Bastion itself has enough seats to fill your entire platoon. So your whole 48-man platoon can spawn on these things and jump out of them and basically drop down to the ground. Or if you spawn on the Bastion, when you exit it, you can exit it in a fighter. So you can have your entire platoon spawn on your Bastion and everybody gets out in fighters.
So the Bastion is more of like a floating NPC city. You don't really have any direct interaction of...
There's going to be like 9 seats on it for guns. So there's going to be some guns pointing at the ground for bombardment and some for anti-air.
But as far as what's inside, where it is, that kind of stuff, where you're going, that's kind of out of your hands.
Kind of somewhat like the dropship in 2142.
Yeah. You tell it where to go and it will go there, but you have no like direct control over it. Yeah. And essentially what they're going for is just massive force projection. Like you take this thing and you're able to kind of hover over the battlefield. You're just spawning fighters out of the ass. And
Is it attackable?
yes, it has a massive health pool, but it has the health pool located in 8 or 9 weak points. So you can't just shoot at it. You have to specifically target the weak points on it. Some of them are facing the ground, some of them are facing the sky, so it's a little bit of a combined effort to get them. And you can't really, it's not like 2142 where you can go inside them. You can't really land on them and walk around and shoot people on them. It's specifically a vehicle. But they do look cool. Some of the footage from the test server where they are right now does look really cool, especially when you have 3 of these things slugging it out with everybody fighting around them. But all in all, it looks like an awesome update.
Interesting.
And we've started playing it again. And I mean, it's free. It doesn't really take much to get into it. One thing I've noticed is it's a lot less grindy. Like if you just play the game normally and you get a lot of kills, you get a lot of cert points. So your unlocks come in fairly regularly. It's not as grindy as it used to be. So
nice, Fox.
And since the news of this update has gone around, the player population has gone from like 2,000 to 5,000
I've noticed
prime time.
I've noticed a lot of games are doing that. If they're not releasing a big expansion this year or a sequel to their game, they're releasing a massive update early on, either late first quarter or early second quarter of this year. You got PlanetSide, you've got Guild Wars that's doing a big one, you've got, what was that other one that hit? My mind is completely blanking.
But yeah, definitely a few titles. I almost think that everyone else was gearing up for Camelot Unchained to come out at the end of the year too. And so they were all gearing up to
ESO, big update.
Yeah, satisfy their player base so that they wouldn't wander off.
Well, I think in the case of PlanetSide, I think they are getting ready for PlanetSide 3.
Yeah, we've kind of needed PlanetSide 3, honestly, for a little bit here. It could have probably happened a good 3-4 years ago.
Well, they were coming out with that PlanetSide Arena, which was kind of supposed to be like structured FPS fights in the PlanetSide universe. Like it was supposed to be like 100 versus 100 versus 100, like in set matches, kind of like Battlefield. And then, of course, they're going to have like a whole battle royale game mode because they were trying to cash in on that craze again. But it didn't pan out, and they ultimately ended up canceling the project. But PlanetSide Arena was supposed to lead into PlanetSide 3.
I'd almost want to play PlanetSide slightly redesigned to be in the mindset of Crowfall.
With like set matches?
Yeah, but like long campaigns. So like, 3-4 months, whatever campaign, and then have things. So PlanetSide, the big thing is like nodes and things like that kind of switch hands pretty fluidly. You're always battling and moving the mark, as it were. The goalpost is always moving. I'd like to see the goalpost a little bit more hardened and a little bit more interesting, and then played in a more campaign setting where you'd have 3 months or something like that, and then kind of reset the maps. That'd be kind of cool,
I think if they went back to having the continents like they were in the original PlanetSide, because right now PlanetSide 2, there's 4 continents, and you're just trying to capture just enough territory to lock it down, and then you move on to the next one. But at PlanetSide 1, you're going from base to base to base because you're trying to take over the entire continent. And then once you capture their warp gate, you move on to the next one. You're basically invading the next one.
So what do you get when you take over the continent?
I couldn't remember what bonuses you got from it.
The right to thumb your nose at the opponents. I mean, what other reason do you really need in PvP?
Well, I'm just curious. It's like, okay, is this something where it's going to be a Zerg thing, kind of like in Guild Wars, where it's just everybody's trading keeps and stuff like that? Or is there actually a point to holding all these different
Well, you
nodes and capturing the entire thing at once.
Well, you can't trade in PlanetSide because everything's on a set path with the nodes. And the way how adjacency works, you can't go and back cap the other faction. That's just not happening. PlanetSide is more of a game of logistics than anything, because you're either setting up your spawns or you're denying the enemy spawns. Like, you're going to be stuck in a slugfest for hours over a base if you don't go after their spawns, which is kind of the name of the game. Like in the original PlanetSide, the bases themselves had resources, which your team could only, unless you were like actively refilling the base with resources, which came from your warp gate, you would have to have small groups of people going out in the ants, grabbing resources from the warp gate, and then somehow bringing them back into your base unscathed to refill it with resources. Those resources were needed for respawns. They were needed to keep the base powered with the shields or whatever, preventing enemy vehicles from getting in. And you needed them to spawn your own vehicles. So as the defender, you could not just sit there and wait it out. You had to actively, reinforce the base if you wanted to keep it.
Yeah, there's definitely a problem that's control point games run into, and it's something the PlanetSide has always been really good at, is that prevention of just let's trade off stuff and just run in a circle around each other and kill nodes, because yay, that's where rewards are. It's still I just got I recovered my Guild Wars 2 account
How long has that taken you?
Over a week. And I was like totally gonna play like 2-3 weeks ago, and realized I didn't have hard drive space for it, so I had to go buy a new hard drive. Then I got lazy and sat on that for about a week before I got it installed. Then I sat on that, and then was like, oh, I better get everything downloaded. Hey, I can't get my account, so it took me another week to recover the account. So probably from beginning to end, it's been about 3 weeks trying to get into Guild Wars 2. But now I'm in, and I spent a whole 5 minutes last night in going, yay, I've achieved this. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to bed. So I really want to explore Guild Wars 2 and see if they kind of worked at getting rid of some of that. Because it was one of Guild Wars 2's greatest flaws, in my opinion, was the circle jerking of keeps.
Yeah,
it still is there a little bit. My group is getting pretty heavy into Guild Wars 2 right now, and we're enjoying it, and it's fun. But they're still out in the world v world bit. It is still very much a back and forth. There's not a whole lot of people, so the Zerg kind of hits every now and then, but it is mostly smaller skirmish groups that are running out. I say smaller. These are anywhere from 8 to 10 people that are kind of out there doing stuff. So, I mean, if you're consistently out on the map, there's not really that circle jerk of taking keeps going on, because you've got these groups that are just running around like you did in the days of Dark Age of Camelot, when you had a minstrel and you just ran like a bat out of hell, and it's like, oh, there's some people, let's go destroy them, and then you get your face rolled into the dirt because they're a little bit better than you, or not. Siaku, they seem to want to keep the keeps.
My face rolled.
They want to keep the keeps, but towers and other points just fall. And I think that depends on the time of day, though, too, that we've experienced. I mean, sometimes we'll be out there trying to take something with siege, and lo and behold, a defense crew will pop up on the thing, and they'll actually try to keep it. They're trying to keep these nodes.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. PlanetSide has done. PlanetSide 2 has done is, if you haven't played that game in a really long time, so many of the bases have changed. Like, so many of the smaller bases, not like the big facilities, but the little ones, they've all been changed to make it almost impossible to camp the spawns with vehicles. Like usually with a lot of these bases, before they used to be fairly open. So like, you know, you roll in with 50 tanks, you're just sitting outside the spawn. Oh, there's a guy, 50 tanks, just fire on. But a lot of them have walls now. They have more.
It's Luke Skywalker. Fire.
To go into. And
they lose.
But even some of like the minor bases now, they're a lot bigger. They're a lot more fun to fight over, and they can turn into like massive mosh pits of infantry going at it. Over the last couple nights, I've been in a lot of fights where we'll just sit there for 2 hours, and nothing moves. Like just deadlock, both sides just going at it. And the other thing too is performance is way up. In like the last year or so,
2,000 to 5,000 people are playing.
It's true.
They switched over to DX11, which solved a lot of issues.
As opposed to ArcAge's problem when they switched to DX11, it blew up most issues.
Yeah. But in PlanetSide, I've been in fights with over probably 300 people in a given area, and no hitches whatsoever, no lag, no frame drops. Nothing. It is nice and smooth. Granted, I have a nice rig, but I mean the game is still 7 years old. It still looks okay. Like it still looks decent. But
considering what crazy push there's been in the last 3 years, I'd say, of games that are not graphically intensive. I mean, everything from Minecraft to so many side scrollers and big flashback, like everybody's starting to play a lot of 8-bit style games and stuff like that. You know, I think that the kind of the obsession and the expectation of graphics in many ways is waning. So we're definitely more forgiving of older games. Whereas if you look back even 10 years ago, people would be like, oh, this graphics, even an MMO, oh, those graphics are so 3 years ago. Like, like, oh my god. Like, there's Kissy, and she's like totally a Valley girl, and she's like, oh my god, gag me with a malice.
So
we've been having a lot of fun, and we're seeing if we can build up our outfits before this update comes in, so we can kind of go in and have like a somewhat organized group and have people with different roles. And you have like a squad dedicated to being an Air Force, a squad dedicated to being your armored division, that kind of thing. Doing galaxy drops where you kind of go overhead with galaxy and drop your entire squad in, and then go in and kick some ass. But
Sayaku asked to you, Poison, what do you think about the new medical feature in Star Citizen right now?
It's nice, actually. We did the 890 jump mission where you have to go in and kill the NPCs that have hijacked it. And
why don't you share what this feature is for those of us that don't know?
I'll explain it. Basically, we brought in the new Cutlass Red. So basically, if a ship has a medical bay or a medical bed, you can now set that as a spawn. And it only works if you're a certain distance. I think it's like within 500,000 kilometers, maybe less. I don't know. But basically, if you die, you respawn at it. So,
isn't it? This is really old school from PlanetSide. So, like, completely correct me if I'm wrong. But then they used to have these like little mobile vehicles that were like respawners that could be stealthed and stuff like that. And you basically teams would sit off in the kind of the fringes of the fight with these respawners and keep pushing them in. But they were really short range. So it almost sounds kind of like that, where like you're gonna want this ship kind of near the fight so that it's the place for everyone to respawn.
Yeah, and for now it's nice. We tested it out a little bit. If there's two people in the beds and someone else dies, they do not spawn there. They only spawn if the bed is empty. Instead, they'll spawn at like their last station or city or whatever they were at. But if you're doing missions, like you're doing those bunker missions or if you're doing the 890 jump mission, the NPC AI is fairly aggressive now. And now that the servers aren't so taxed, you can actually see the AI work. And while it's not perfect and they can still do dumb things all the time, they are aggressive. Like I've seen some cases where they'll just straight up rush you. Like some of them will put in suppressing fire, and then 2 other guys will just like rush you at the door, and they'll come at you. And if you're not careful, you'll get headshot like almost immediately by groups. So
that's cool. So as someone that has explored Star Citizen more than I have, I kind of really got bored after everything was like a matchmaking scenario. And then I tried to get, every time I've tried to log in since, I've fallen through the world. So I just get very frustrated very quickly. I get lost or whatever like that, trying to wander around. And when I do finally get in the world, and I was just like, all right, well, there's not much I could do. So I'd log out, and that'd be about it. For people that the game actually works for, apparently, how is the feel to you, and do you see the feel being there where you're going to have the best way to put it, I guess, the depth of combat, where you're going to be able to very fluidly move from the idea of single man combat to fighter combat to capital ship combat and all that, those scopes in a scenario? Does that seem like it's going to be a real thing?
Well, I mean, that's what we're going to get with Theaters of War, which is supposed to come out in the next update. If it doesn't come out in 3.9, it's going to come out very shortly after that. And that is going to be 20 on 20 maps set in 3 phases. And it's just going to be like a multiplayer game, like Battlefield or whatever. Mm-hmm. You're going to have different classes to play. Each team is going to have different vehicles available to them. Like, for example, the Ursa rover, that is going to be in it. And it's also going to be a mobile spawn for people in that game mode. And they're actually saying that vehicle is pretty powerful with its turret. The map that they have, so the first stage is like it's basically Marines attacking outlaws. The Marines are going in; they're going to disable AA guns. The next stage, and basically that kind of clears AA guns. The next stage, each team adds a couple fighters. So you're going to have a couple Hornets, a couple Buccaneers in the air flying. And the goal is to take down like this antenna tower or whatever. It can either be damaged from the outside by vehicles, or infantry can go inside the base and capture like control points that have like laptops or whatever. And when they capture a point, it does like a set percentage damage to the point. So infantry can go in, cap stuff, damage it, or people on the outside, like the fighters or the rovers, can do damage. After that second phase, the third phase takes place in low orbit at an orbital satellite station, in which case the attacking team gets a couple drop ships, which also act as spawn points, and they get to go up and drop their guys off on the station where there's fighting inside and outside the station. So that...
Besides in an arena type match, though, how do you feel that's coming along in the open world live game, I guess?
Well, the reason why they're coming out with that game mode is because they do need to polish up that combat. And if you want to do any kind of combat in the game right now, you have to get everybody spawned in. You got to get to a location. Oh, look, Bob died. He had the drop ship. Oh, crap. Now he's got to respawn.
Dang it, Bob.
Spend like 8 minutes waiting for his ship to come back with the insurance, and he comes back. So like organizing that kind of stuff in the persistent universe is pretty hard right now. So getting those fights and actually getting there is fairly tough. At least with this new game mode coming out, they can iterate. They can have matches go on and on and on. They can test infantry, they can test ground vehicles, they can test air vehicles. Like, for example, the ballista right now.
Damn red shirts.
The ballista is that anti-air rover that has like the missile turret on it, right? You don't have very many cases where you can use that in the persistent universe right now. Like, you can drop it off near an outpost and maybe you'll see one guy in 7 hours. Whereas in this game mode, you have it and you're basically using it to shoot down everybody in the air.
There's a question at Poison here. From 0 to 100%, how confident are you that Star Citizen will release?
100%.
Do you have a gut feeling as to approximately when you might think, given that you're someone that's played it quite a bit?
I would say we're going to get the single player this year, but that depends on combat getting refined and polished up, in my opinion. There's certain things that need to be done before we get the single player. Like, if shooting things isn't as fun as it should be, it's not coming out this year. It's that simple. They can have everything else done. They can have all the cinematics done. They can have all the missions done, all that kind of stuff. But if dogfighting and shooting people isn't at 100%, it's not there yet.
The follow up to that I have is something that since, of course, as I described, I'm having problems myself getting into the game, but I've watched many of my guildmates go and play the game. They, of course, take hours to get together to get into one ship just finally. Like, with all the random glitches of people dying, falling in the world, not realizing that water insta-kills you, not being able to see water and then getting insta-killed by it, all these types of things. But it's rough. It's rough. But my biggest complaint that I've seen so far, and do you know if they've talked about addressing this, is ships seem way, way fragile.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, I go to take off. I touched an antenna.
So how it works right now is the ships are broken into different sections. So even if you have a large ship, if any one of those sections goes to 0% HP, the whole ship will die. Right. It's based on an arbitrary HP system. That's not permanent. That's not what it's going to be going forward. This is actually being worked on right now. It's not on the roadmap, so we don't know when it's going to come out. But they are working on a physics-based damage system.
Hey,
so how that's going to work and how I've seen it described is every ship is going to be made out of certain materials, and those materials are going to have certain densities and whatever. So say I have a gun on my ship that fires like a single round, right? 30 millimeter round. Okay. That 30 millimeter round is traveling through space at whatever speed, it has whatever mass. They're going to be calculating. So if it hits a ship, does it penetrate the armor of that ship? Yes or no? And then if yes, you're going to do your damage, you're going to go through. And it's going to also be based on the components you hit. So something like the hammerhead, you can be wasting all of your shots on like the main head of the ship, but there's nothing valuable there. One, is heavily armored, and two, there's nothing there. You actually have to physically hit the components under the ship to even do damage. So that's going to result in less catastrophic explosions. So when you're shooting up a ship, you're probably going to see more disables rather than explosions. But I've also seen stuff like more areas where player error can factor into things. Like, for example, I've seen
that never happens.
I've seen some data mining where pretty soon here, if you're firing your guns too hot, they might set off an explosion, which could affect the ammo box, which could spread to other components.
That's kind of cool.
So
horrible.
No, it's
Malice
that's something
toast.
I've been waiting on for a really long time. Proper damage scaling, proper damage modeling. I think the multi-crew ships are way too weak, way too fragile.
Yeah. Is that Swiper or Swipper? We were having this conversation before to one of our guests in chat.
Malice says Swiper, I say Swipper.
Yeah. Swiper no swipey, or no response. And then the topic is
Swip it.
Swiper. So it's Swiper. All right, so I was right. Ha, noob. Who the hell would name themselves Swipper? That sounds stupid. I was like, it's clearly going to be Swiper. I mean, But the topic is how best to use hookers in MMOs.
But Grand Theft Auto doesn't have an MMO yet.
Yeah, it has an
Yet.
MMO. What are you talking about? It was multiplayer. It was to these days. That's an MMO. Yeah.
No,
They
but
were like-
really, we started talking about Star Citizen. Now we're talking about PlanetSide 2,
Then we
and
moved back to Star Citizen.
really, it's
And I think the most important thing that I think we're about at the point of the conversation of is what is everyone else looking forward to with the proverbial temporary death of Camelot Unchained, with the it probably being another 2 years before we see that, and with Star Citizen, as promising as it sounds fairly realistic to say that no earlier than the end of 2021. Is there anything that anybody else sees on the horizon? What is the dates?
One
What's
thing
the
I kind
profile?
of want to add though is if Squadron 42 is going to come out this year, there's all this stuff they need to get done, which we'll benefit from in the multiplayer side. Like I said,
sure.
they have to make sure the combat is good. I've seen that we're going to be getting engineers pretty soon, like the engineering station. In the June patch, we are getting a whole revamp of the user interface. So all those MFD screens in our ships, the whole HUD, everything that is getting completely revamped. Thank frickin' God. Like I've been waiting so long. But as they kind of demonstrated at CitizenCon last year, they've been working on the tools. They've been investing a lot of time and energy in the tools so that way they can make stuff faster. So when they came out with the new planetary tech, they had to rebuild all the planets currently in the game from scratch. Planets that took them months or a year for some of them, they redid in 2 months. So with that tech and with all that iteration, and they've even been saying like the system they started with is one of the 2 or 3 hardest systems in the game for them to make. Like it has 4 habitable planets, 4 cities, all the different biomes and everything like that. Not like all these other systems we're going to start getting, they're not all created the same. Like, for example, the one we're getting this year, Pyro, is basically a lawless system. It has one main station and a bunch of barren planets. I mean, there's going to be a lot of high risk, high reward gameplay there, but there's not a lot of infrastructure. So in terms of like actually building it, there's not a lot to it. Like all the tech they need is already there. So
Fox, you're close. He's talking about tools. It does sound like CU talk, but he hasn't said the L word yet, so I think we're okay.
which is the L word?
Loser.
Linuxification. As everybody in chat now takes a drink.
But no, it's coming along really nice. I think once Squadron 42 is out, it'll be a good point.
It's a chain of events, and I understand that Star Citizen has, from its beginning, has built mini games to use as a test bed for their next step, and they've done that all the way through their development. And basically, Squadron 42 is just the next mini game that will be the next step, really. And so, I mean, obviously, it's be more robust than the mini games they've done previously, but still, at the end of the day, it's a single player mini game to a multiplayer universal super game. And so that all really opens up. I mean, like, even if they figure out how to build a planet every week at this rate, they're going to still be doing this for another 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a reality. They have thousands of planets, basically. They have a whole entire half of a space empire to make with the God, I can't even remember what the enemy race is. It's been so long.
Yeah, but there's gonna be multiple aliens they have to get to as well.
Yeah, but there's the one big warmonger one.
The Vandula, yeah.
Vandula, that's it. Yep. So, like I said, it wasn't a bash on Saracen. It was just a reality of about the range we're looking at. So going back to my original point, which was wandering down the dark alleys of other games, it looks like a lot of games that we were really expecting to see launch in 2019, 2020 have all vaporized off the freaking map. Last Oasis, I hear, just kind of imploded on itself, and it's like garbage, and no one is playing it. Sahaku, you mentioned soon the magical words for Crowfall, which is, Crowfall seemed like a really cool idea. And we were actually just watching some Crowfall play. The game is actually looking a lot better, a lot more advanced. Kind of excited about it. I've always been excited about the product just because I really like the idea of campaigns where you could go 3-6 months, really rip up a world, just really do a number on it, and then go reset, as opposed to just leaving it that way for everybody. And it harkens back to the days of like games like Travion and stuff like that, where they were cycled world, like empire builders. And so this is basically an MMO, true first player positioning, well, I guess third, but you're basically going to be able to play in that kind of cycled environment, which would be really cool. Crowfall excites me in that way. And I like the fact that you can I like how that you can trap magic items to keep them forever, do all that kind of stuff. Really seems like overall neat ideas. But, as Tan Target, huh? I love Miss Hawaiian Tropic myself. Nice. Do you guys think Crowfall will have good combat considering it's not tan targeting? They really don't like middle. They're only going to go. It's a black and white targeting system. Tan is just too bland in the middle, and it can't target it.
So if you want to know more about their wow, my camera can't even focus right now.
Yeah, what the hell just happened?
I don't know. If you want to know more about their combat system, you can either get in Twitch. There's Crowfall itself is doing a lot of gameplay streaming where the guys are actually getting on and playing through their beta that's out there. Beta access right now is actually really easy to get into. You can also be a backer of it and immediately get into their alpha beta access. So there's lots of ways to actually get into Crowfall and check it out. I would encourage you, if you're at all interested in it, go sign up for the beta on their website. It's not going to cost you a dime to sign up. You may not get in. And then if you've got, I think it's $40 that you don't mind dropping on beta access for something and a free to play forever type of thing, drop that and you're in right away. So,
from my experience, Swiper, with what's called Action Combat, you have several very successful games out there that have Action Combat. Crowfall seems to be falling kind of in that line with Guild Wars 2, where Guild Wars 2 is more action combat. While it does have kind of tab targeting, it doesn't matter much because there's not a lot of single target attacks. It's more of a small AoE environment. But the ability to dodge and the ability to use relative character location for combat has actually been very successful in several games. Like I said, Guild Wars 2, you have Terra, you have a lot of other titles out there. When I first played Terra was the first action combat game that I played for an MMO, on an MMO scale. And the first time I played it, I was like, this is the future of MMOs. If everyone isn't moving to action combat, I mean, I'm not. You're just not doing it right. I feel that any new games that are coming out that aren't action combat are actually kind of a disservice to themselves. Hey, baby. I don't know what star is, but it could be fun.
You know, one thing I'm curious about is that tech that Microsoft has put together for the new flight simulator, where they're streaming in all the area and is basically the Earth to a centimeter scale or level of detail. It'd be really interesting to see what else they make use of it. And I think with the new console generation coming out, it might lead to, at least on Microsoft's end, they're probably going to make use of that even more, possibly in other games. Who knows where else that could be applied?
Yeah, seeing the new the PS5 and the next generation Xbox is going to be very interesting because they're basically just PCs now.
Yeah,
they're exclusive PCs. They were basically arguably that before, but now they're
Well, Microsoft is saying like every first party game they make is also going to be on PC. They don't care about exclusives anymore.
Right.
It's all about more people playing.
Sony is probably going to have to watch out because they're running into issues with manufacturing and they don't know where to price it. Like they're saying I think it's like cost is $400 to $450, $400 to $450 just to manufacture. So
that's steep.
Yeah.
But then again, we all pay like $1,000 for cell phones these days, so you know.
Yeah.
To be fair, though, consoles have always sold at basically cost, because they make their money off of games.
Yeah.
They get their royalties from the games, and that's what pays for them.
They also have the subscription services now. They got peripherals, all that.
They can give you that product for cost, so that means it's going to be $400 to $500 for the game still, or for the console still. So that's currently acceptable, in my opinion.
So Kiss My Juicy brings up a good thing here. She wants to give money to See Your Titties, Malice. So. One of the things we talked about before the stream was Malice is going to dye his hair. Yes. And he's going to let all of you pick the color. So,
you suckers out there.
If you're a sub to the channel, your vote will count twice. If you're just a follower, then obviously it counts once. So for the next 3 minutes, we'll have a poll up in chat. You get to choose the hair color for Malice. These are predetermined. There is one bonus color in there that Malice did not okay for me to put in, so I'll let you figure out what that is. So here's the poll. Again, if you're a sub to the channel, your vote will count twice. And Malice, when are you going to do this dye job?
Within probably about 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks. All right.
Hopefully right after I have an interview from a current resume that I have out, because I don't want to do it beforehand.
So if y'all pick green, he can go green for St. Patrick's Day and maybe get some free beer at the local bar. Here's the poll. What color should Malice dye his hair? Again, if you are a sub, your vote counts twice. So if you really, really care... Unfortunately, there is no flaming red on there, Juicy. I'm sorry. Malice had me take red off the list.
I do not want that to instantly wash out and turn to pink.
Yeah, you didn't want pink. We're still trying to get Puka on to shave the beard. Oh, maybe we can get Puka to dye his beard. That would be good.
There you go. Especially green. He'd be a big green beard for St. Patty's Day. Purple. Yeah, I mean, purple would be a viable color too.
So far we've got 2 votes. Come on, people. There's at least 10 of you in the channel right now.
This is the proverbial chance to throw the baseball at the dunking tank.
It's a vote. It doesn't cost you a dime. You just click a button. I don't know how that works for mobile, if that's more difficult. But...
Why is he bad with buttons?
I'm on my phone right now, and I don't see the option.
There you go.
I don't know where that would be.
Didn't click the vote button. Yeah, I don't know this stuff on the phones.
I don't know. Let's pull it up and see what we can find out. It's there in chat.
Yeah, see, other people have gotten it. So, yeah, just outside
be-
of like,
It should be right at the top of the chat there, Fox. Right there.
ooh, there you go. Yeah, is that a iPhone or is that a Android?
Mine was an iPhone.
Yeah. Oh, an iPhone that works. Nice.
All right. A little bit of time left. Only 3 votes. Only 3
Yeah.
people care about your hair color.
Apparently.
He's on an Android. Maybe that's your problem.
So other than like Last Oasis, we've also recently seen Air drop off of the map. Like
Air.
it moved. Yeah, dude. So this was a game that was really I was really excited, especially as a ArcAge player. Right, the coolest thing in ArcAge was the potential at one point. So they have these airships in the game. You're like, dude, we need airships in this game, like player-owned airships. We can have battles in the air, and so sure enough, Air came out, and it is basically steampunk air pirates and raiding each other and doing all that cool stuff. I was really, really excited about this game. It made it to Taiwan as its second release, and then completely they haven't updated their site now in over a year for the North American site, and it's just like crickets. Nothing. No one knows if they're even coming to North America. So this is a big problem I'm seeing across the board with even games that exist that are launched elsewhere, is they don't want to come to North America anymore. I think we smell. I think North America needs a collective shower so that everybody else likes us again.
Looks like green was the winner there, Malice.
Green is the winner. This shit is rigged.
For those of you that couldn't see, the color choices were green, white, black, blue, and brown.
All right. So green it is. I will be putting together the order for the hair color dye then hopefully tonight.
There you go. Malice, I think we need to do a stream here in the next coming weeks where we kind of go over statuses of games that are coming out and talk about where they are in their development cycles and stuff like that. One dedicated specifically to that.
Well, I think I just touched on it all. We don't know. Everything's dead. Like, we either know what Star Citizen is doing, we know that Camelot shoved its ass back up, head back up its ass and wandered off into the distance for a while. And everything else is the Korean model games have decided not to go North America, it seems, or they've just failed completely. And yeah, Crowfall. I mean, like, I actually really need to go back to testing Crowfall, because now
we're probably not going to see a lot get announced until these new consoles start coming out.
With the Phantasy Stars, like, I think the next big MMO is going to come out console, primarily on like console. So
well, it's supposed to be what, July release for PC. At least that's what their main wiki says, anyway.
Just like your soul, Kissy, you have a wonderful soul. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Chad, are you guys looking forward to Phantasy Star at all? I know there's a number in my group that are looking forward to Phantasy Star. It's not your cup of tea, Malice. Well, it's a PvE game. That's not really you,
right? I mean, which is fine. I have nothing wrong with good PvE. Yeah, I mean, shit. The field is so empty that I may try it just on pure whim.
You hear good things about it, says Swiper. Fox, what are you guys playing right now? You guys still on EQ2?
That thing's still up? Jesus.
Apparently. And I think Puka's group, it looked like they were going to WoW Classic. Last I saw. Space Engineers. Space Engineers?
Yeah, Space Engineers.
All right. So for those of you that aren't in a specific game, if there's a game that you're interested in that these groups play, by all means, speak up in Discord, get connected with the different groups. My group is kind of
I am in need of cannon fodder, so just hit me up.
So he needs cannon fodder for PlanetSide and or Star Citizen. My group is doing Guild Wars 2 right now. Malice, what's your group doing?
Yes, Escape from Tarkov, I think, is what most people are playing, and Monster Hunter.
There you go.
I am, as I mentioned before, now that I finally have access myself, I'm going to actually start looking into the prospect of trying to drag everyone kicking and screaming to Guild Wars 2, because honestly, we have nothing else better to do anyway. So,
it's fun. And then we've got Crowd Control that's doing apparently Space Engineers. We've got Clan Zerker that is doing WoW Classic. And I believe Harbingers of Light has gone to WoW Classic. Tiny Guild going on in ESO. So if ESO is a thing for you, you've got that. So lots of options of old games that are classics. Sometimes it's fun to just jump in for a couple of months, rock your socks off, and then stick your head back up above water and go, okay, anything new coming yet? Nope. Okay, let's dive in. Because that's kind of what we're at. I mean, let's be honest about it. That's what we're doing. So
I think keeping a lot of these other titles afloat is the fact that there's just nothing else to go to, so everybody keeps returning back to them.
Yeah. All right, so MMO grind this week.
MMO grind. I believe it's now just you and I. It's now at 9:00 Central. We're kind of moving up the time frame. Moving it back for a little bit later viewers, so that we can totally get involved with people who are, off of work and done with hopefully some of their family stuff and whatnot, and can actually get involved. Unfortunately, like this show, but at least this show's on a weekend. We were on a weekday, and people were just not being able to watch us live, which, sad. They're lost. So, but we've moved the time to be more accommodating to our fans, and I'm not sure what we're talking about again this week. Oh, we have Swiper on, right?
Yes, we have Swiper this week.
Yep. So we have Swiper. We are discussing how to improve ideas and thoughts of where you could take Ragnarok and make it a fun game. So we're going to discuss concepts and ideas for Ragnarok. So if you want to hear about Ragnarok, you want to see what ideas we might have to improve it, if you want to put in your own ideas and throw them in chat, we'd love to just kind of keep the information ball going, and maybe we'll compile it all into a document of, here are some great ideas, and then launch it off to the CU website and let them play around with it. So,
and perhaps we'll even have a dev or two in chat that can set us straight if maybe some of these cool ideas that we're talking about is already there. Maybe they'll let us know.
Yeah, I'll have to see if we can taunt Andrew into getting in the chat.
Fun times. All right, so we'll see you all at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central for MMO Grind right here on Smart Gamer Live. Thank you all for coming.
Yep, have a good night.
See ya.